Thanks for joining us. You are looking at a rare photo from 1965 showcasing Pontiac's newly designed 1966 GTO Convertible. We believe we just discovered this original car that Pontiac used for the auto show. This car was found in the Midwest, buried in a building for over 40 years. As you can see from this picture, the GTO was ordered from the factory with a special order color and a special one-off custom interior. Stay tuned while we speak to the owner of this vehicle and uncover it from its slumber and watch this rare vehicle that was almost crushed at a salvage yard instead see the light of day for the first time in over 4 decades. Oh, we're finally here. I think this is it. Nice setup. Well, it says GTO Drive. I think we're at the right place. So here's the car where it sits. It's been sitting in this building since 2005, but before that it was stored since about 78 when he said he found the car in the junkyard. But anyways, yeah, the original drivetrain was gone. He had a 64 389 sitting in it, which he just pulled out because we're obviously not going to use it for the restoration. But you can see it's a factory air car. It's got all the shielding and stuff that goes under the bumper. So take a look at the trim tag. That's something that really shows some things. So you can see it's a first week of October 1965. So it's a really early car and built Pontiac built. And then the 1-2, 1 is special paint, dash the 2 is a black convertible top, and that number below that is the Ditzler lacquer number, which I still have not figured out really what the color is. But if you take a look at the cowl section here, you can see it's a kind of a bronze gold with heavy metallic, and it, we're kind of thinking it might have been tiger gold, but it also looks like
gold's more of a plainer.
Yes, it's more of a greenish gold. It's not so dark. And plus this has huge metallic. We're almost, I personally think it's a Cadillac fire mist color, but I still haven't quite determined.
Well, the air ducts up there in the roof, it's probably got better paint quality than that color.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here's the air duct. This part right here is the reason you have the car, because you were looking for one of these duct.
Right, exactly.
And this is what sent you to the junkyard to buy this piece of ductwork, and you could see how they painted it body color, just really interesting. So we do have some good pieces here to match color on. But yeah, check out this interior. So we have, there's a 67 seat in there now just to save the original, but check out these door panels. I mean, that's all custom from the 60s, shag carpeting. And there's even carpeting on the kick panels. And the dash is also body color. And you see it has a tilt steering wheel, tack and gauges, a lot of options. A lot of options. There's the back seat. Still in pretty good condition, actually. We're hoping we could just clean this stuff up and maybe reuse it. We're going to have to get a couple pieces made here and there. But so the car was repainted a darker shade of bronze, but they actually took the time to put a pinstripe back on, which I thought was kind of funny, even though it's in the wrong place. It should be up there.
It's a closed door paint job.
Yeah, closed door
They
paint
didn't
job.
jam it or nothing.
Is this part of the carpeting?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Was laying in there.
Look at this. So this is what the carpeting they had in the car. Just a heavy shag. But, the car is relatively complete. Here's a good shot of the original color under the trunk lid, too. You could really see it. And it's moderately rusty, for an Illinois car, or Indiana car, I should say. It could be a lot worse, I guess.
Yeah, well, I figure it was only on the road for 12 years.
12 years, yeah. But it had a rough life in 12 years.
Well, yeah, it got picked to death.
Yeah, it did. And it's just a miracle the car even survived, because it was literally minutes away from being crushed. Just unbelievable. And you can look at the convertible top. It's actually the original top. See the difference between the pinpoint vinyl and then the crushed binding? It's actually two different kind of materials. That's how you could tell it's the original top. And check out these little points here. Those are the original. The reproduction tops, they definitely don't have that right. So the car is very original. I mean, you could see nothing's really been changed on it. So it's going to be an interesting job, that's for sure. Definitely a one-of-a-kind car. All right, that's probably good. Maybe get a shot of that passenger side fender with the Grand Marque emblem.
Yeah, it's down low.
Yeah. Oh, is there anything else you can talk about?
I think we're pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, what are you going to do without the shelf? That's going to be tough.
What?
You're going to have your shelves spinning down.
I have to buy.
All right, we're sitting here with Bruce. And Bruce, how long have I known you? You probably knew me before I was born, right?
Yes, sir.
A long time.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, you've been collecting GTOs for quite a long time.
Yeah, since 68.
Wow, 68. So they were still new when you were collecting them. So tell me a little bit of your story. You said, I think you told me you were a Ford guy originally.
Yeah, I was a Ford guy.
Okay.
And I was going up to a cruise night one night. Thought I was a big shot. And I picked a drag race with a guy on a 60 Catalina, and he blew me away.
Yeah. And what is?
And I probably should have bought it, but I didn't. I had a 64 overhead cam SHO or whatever it was.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about $1 million motor now. It was on order. It was $2,400, and you got a factory rep to go racing with you for 1 month. Okay, so I put $1,200 down on it, and they ordered it, and then that was on a Friday or something like the end of the week, but the orders only went in every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that weekend I got blown away by that 60 Catalina, and my buddy had a 62 Super Duty dual quad for sale. I used to see it in his shop all the time.
Wow.
When I'd go over there after work.
Yeah.
Because he was a goat guy.
Yeah.
And I says, well, what's with that? He said, well, he took it out of it. So he had a 62 Grand Prix and he had it in there, but the clearances were too fat. And the only time he had good oil pressure was when you were standing on it. At an idle, it had like 6-7 pounds oil pressure till you give it any gas, then it jumped right up.
Mm-hmm.
So he took it out and he bought a Mickey Thompson short block. Well, back then Mickey Thompson was taking 389s and he was making crankshafts for them and taking a 389 and making a 421 out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was selling it through the dealership. The one dealership used to sponsor Pontiac racing.
Mm-hmm.
So he bought one of those and he put that in there. So
it was an early stroker, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
He had tons of stroker cranks later on.
Yeah.
Leftover, but anyhow. So he had this Super Duty motor sitting there on the engine stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always go in there and I said, Pontiac, yak. Well, that was Friday night. I got a rude awakening. I was getting my clock cleaned.
Wow.
So.
And this was back in like the mid 60s?
That was in 64.
Okay.
Oh, it was in 64 because I ordered a new 64 Ford dual overhead cam motor.
Okay, got it.
Right, and
got it.
So that was Friday night. So Saturday morning, I called my buddy. I said, "You still got that Pontiac motor?" He says, "Yeah," because it was only $600.
Mm-hmm.
Versus 2,400.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I says, "Well, I want it." I says, "But I can't give you the money until Monday because I got to get my check back from the Ford dealer."
There you go.
So Monday lunchtime, I took off work ran over to the Ford dealer. I said, "You ordered that motor yet?" He said, "No." I said, "I want my check back. Cancel the order." So he gave me the check back. Then on the way home from work, I stopped by my buddy's shop and I gave him the $600 for that Super Duty motor because I had a '53 Studebaker that I was racing at the track, but it had a 354 cubic inch Oldsmobile motor in it, which that wasn't enough motor, to get anywhere. You could drive it, but that was it.
Yeah.
So I bought this 421 Super Duty and I put it in that '53 Studebaker, and I was kicking butt and taking names out at the racetrack. And one day, that's the first time I met Beswick.
Okay.
I'm sitting on I had homemade, like, dragster headers I'd made for it with collectors that stuck out the side. They were yay long.
And what kind of car was this in?
'53 Studi.
Okay, I got it.
It was a low boy, and it was chopped 7 inches on top of it, so it was down there.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the pits. I'm tuning it. Of course, nobody with those headers, swooped out headers coming out the side. I always had plenty of room when I got in the pits because nobody would park next to me because it was too loud.
Yeah.
So of course, when you go down the track, they say, here's Bruce Fain with a '53 Studebaker with a 421 Super Duty Pontiac in it, racing the Sitco brothers with a 426 Hemi, yada yada yada. So he goes over to PA. Well, Beswick was racing out there that day when it's '65. So I'm adjusting the valves or doing something under the hood, and from behind me I hear this: "If you're gonna run a Pontiac motor, put it in a Pontiac body." I said, "Who the hell is this schmuck?" And I come off from underneath the hood and turn around. He says, "Hi, I'm Arnie Beswick." Holy shit,
Yeah. That's funny. Wow.
So then, so after that, then I had a '64 Goat that I'd put together. I bought it in the back of a used car lot. It didn't have a doghouse on it.
Okay.
So I bought the car because it was a nice solid car. And I found pieces of a doghouse. You couldn't find a '64 doghouse nowhere back in those days.
Okay.
'65, yeah. Back then I didn't know I could put a '65 doghouse on it, otherwise I would have.
Yeah.
But anyhow, finally I pieced together enough pieces. I found it. I put a doghouse on it, and that was my daily driver.
Okay.
389 tri-power 4-speed.
Awesome.
And then I bought a '70 GTO from a guy that worked in the steel mills, and he had installed a straight axle in the front and a leaf spring rear end.
Wow.
And you almost needed a stool to get in the car. It sat so high.
Wow.
But
you don't see that kind of stuff today. That's for sure.
like a friend of mine worked at the steel mill, and he called me one day. He says, "Hey," he says, "I got a buddy of mine I work with. He's got a '70 GTO that he wants to sell." He says, "He says it's a pretty clean car." I said, "Well, we'll set it up and we'll go take a look at it." So we got set up. So we'll go to this guy's house up in Chicago. He said, "Well, it's in a parking garage, So we go to the parking garage. And he says, "Yeah," he says, he says, "it runs good and everything." He says, "But there's the transmission's all screwed up, He says, the gears are all messed up." Well, the thing sat so high, you didn't need a jack stand or anything to get under it. So I crawled and I looked under there, and somebody had been under there adjusting the linkage, and they had all the linkage arms crossed and backwards and everything. So I asked my buddy, I said, "You got a 9/16 wrench in your car?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Throw it under here." He threw it on. I took all the linkage loose. I put it all back, adjusted it in place, called off from underneath the car, started it up, put it in gear, and drove it. And the guy standing with his mouth open. "What'd you do?" Of course, I'd already bought it.
Yeah.
I owned it now.
Yeah.
He couldn't say it ain't for sale.
Oh, that's funny. So what made you decide to start collecting GTOs?
Then I drove this car home. Of course, I bounced home because it went sideways. If you had smooth pavement, you were all right, but the expressways were terrible. And I got it home, and I pulled in the state police post because it was an out-of-state vehicle to get a VIN check for Indiana. And the cop looks out the window and he says, "I'll tell you right now, you're not driving that thing in this state."
That's pretty funny.
I said, "No, I just want to get it checked in." I said, "All that crap's coming out of there, So I got it home, and I took all the straight axle, I put the regular suspension, everything back in it.
Okay.
And the wife drove it.
Okay.
And
got it.
Then now we had two goats. We had a '64 and a '70. And then I bought this 74. The guy had wrecked it, and it was sitting behind a Pontiac dealer. So I picked it up. So now I got 3 of them. I got a 64, a 70, and a 74.
Okay.
And the wife says, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have one of each? Holy cow, you know. It's
Yeah.
a man's dream for his wife to say something like that.
There you go.
Go get a dozen more cars.
Yeah, right.
So, of course, then I started picking them up here and there. Back in those days, you could pick them up pretty cheap.
And this is all like through the mid 70s and
Right,
early
right.
80s and stuff like that.
Right, I think 80 was probably the last one I bought.
Okay. And you were also buying parts at the Pontiac dealers,
Oh, yeah.
you know, as
right.
you could.
Because you could, I found out that if you had the part number, you'd take it in and they'd run it, and they'd tell you if it was available or not.
Mm-hmm.
But any other people would come and they'd ask them for something, and they'd open the book up. Well, the book stopped at 75.
Okay.
They didn't go back. So they'd look it up. Well, no, there's nothing here for a 68 goat
Mm-hmm.
or 67 or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you had the part number, they'd run the number. Yeah, we can get that. You know, okay,
Yeah.
fine. You know,
Yeah.
I'll get that. You know, so then I started ordering parts,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a pretty good thing going. I was their high sales for 3 months in a row.
It's pretty funny.
You know, because I'd buy quarter panel. You get a quarter panel, 68 quarter panel, 68, 69, same panel, for $94.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd sell them for 300, and I was happy as a lark. You know,
Yeah,
I
I
just
bet.
kept ordering, kept selling, kept ordering, kept
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah.
Same way with fenders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, you know, I should have bought more and kept it
Yeah.
for what that stuff goes for now.
But who would have thought, you know?
Right.
So
I was happy with $94 and getting
Well,
300
yeah.
back.
So at your peak, how many cars do you think you had laying around?
Well, let's see. I think I brought 18 or 19 down here from St. John.
Okay.
Of course, I scrapped more than I should have.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
I
was
didn't
what,
have room.
like in 2000 or so you moved?
05.
05, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
You made me get all those bumpers.
Yeah, that was that was a big move. I can't imagine how much work that was for you guys.
What?
Man.
All it is.
Yeah, exactly.
One
So
summer.
you moved 19 cars from St. John. You had to have at least 20 outside, probably at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So you were probably pushing 40.
Well, I only had inside. What did I have inside? 6. I had 14 in the barn.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of parts. A lot of parts.
Oh yeah, parts were everywhere.
Yeah. So today we're here to take a look at this 66 GTO that you have.
Okay.
And this is kind of like the
Grand Mark 6.
the star of the collection here.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about this car. What year do you think you acquired it?
77.
Okay. And tell us, so how'd you find it?
I was I bought a 66 air conditioned car from Nevada,
Okay.
and it was missing the under dash AC duct.
Okay.
And wasn't no big deal. You know, I mean, you know, I figured sooner or later I'd find it. But this guy stopped by and he says, "Hey," he says, "you want to sell the hood off that car?" I says, "Well, no." He says, "No, because I got one I'm putting together." I said, "No." He says, "You need parts for 66?" I said, "Yeah, matter of fact, I need an AC duct. That's hard to find in the Midwest."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I know there was one in a junkyard I've been getting some parts off of, you know," and he told me where it was. And I went down there, sure enough, they had an air conditioning duct. I got the duct. I got the wood wheel, the tilt column, but it had this weird old interior in there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought somebody had cobbled some crap together
Yeah.
because I'd never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
And so then I went home, and for about 2 nights I couldn't sleep thinking about that crazy interior.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I'm gonna go back down there and see if I could do something with that. So I go down there, and the junkyard is on one side of the railroad tracks, and the entrance road is on the other side of the railroad tracks. And then when you get down to the office, you cross over the tracks on the approach there. But as I'm going down the approach road, I see this car on a forklift headed down the track inside to the crusher. So I jumped on the gas on my truck, and I jumped over their railroad entrance, and I pulled up in front of it, blocked him, got out of the truck, pulled my hands up and said, "Stop, wait a minute." I said, hold that. I said, let me talk to your boss before you do that. And I said, where are you going with that? He said, going to the crusher. I
Wow.
said, no, wait, just wait.
Wow.
So I went in and I talked to the boss, and I said, what are you getting for scrap? He said, $29 a ton. I said, so what's that car out there worth? He said, oh, probably 2 tons. I said, I'll give you $100 for it. He said, okay, it's yours, you know.
Wow.
So I went back out, he told the guy, set it down. I
Wow.
said, I'll go home and get my trailer and come back.
Minutes away.
So minutes were right,
Minutes
otherwise we
away
wouldn't
from
be standing
being
here.
gone forever.
And so
Wow.
I get my trailer and I get the car back home. And of course I just bought a bill of sale, you know, no paperwork or anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a floor mat on the driver's rear floor. And I picked it up while cleaning the car out. And there was a title application laying there. And I picked it up and I could read it. Back in those days you had telephone books.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lady's name. So I looked her up in the phone book and I got her phone number and I called her. And I says, hey, I says, yeah, I bought this car of yours from the junkyard. She says, well, she says, I sold it to my brother. He says, he's got the title. I says, okay, give me his phone number. So she gave me his phone number,
Mm-hmm.
and I called him. Well, it just so happens he was the head of the Indiana Invaders Motorcycle Club, you know, like Hell's Angels.
Yeah,
Part
oh
Two.
yeah, yeah, oh man.
So I says, yeah, I says, I'll give you $50 if you go in for us get a duplicate title for that car. He said, yeah, okay. So about a week later, I called him back. I said, did you get that title yet? He says, no. He said, I hadn't gone down there yet. You know, I said, okay, I'll call you next week. Well, but in the meantime, when I got the car from the junkyard, there was no bucket seats, no trunk lid, no hood, no console. I said, well, the console and the hood and the trunk lid, I says, I got that stuff here.
Yeah.
I says, but I don't know how in the world I ever matched that interior.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time, I didn't know the console was different also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyhow, the third week I called the guy, and he wasn't at home. His wife answered the phone, and I told her, I says, your husband's supposed to be getting the title application for the old convertible he used to have. He doesn't have the title anymore. She said, yeah, he does. She says, it's right here in the bureau drawer. And I says, are you kidding? She says, no, I'll go get it.
Wow.
So she went and got it, she read it over the phone to me.
Wow.
I
Wow.
says, good. I says, what's your address? Because all I have is a phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave me the address. I says, yeah, I'm on my way.
Perfect.
I was going out the door to go to work Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll forget it. I'll call out work today. I got to get this stuff, this title paper.
Wow.
So I get down there. When I got there, by the time I got down there, her husband was home. And I get the title and I paid her for it. She took the money. He didn't get the money.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says, I'm leaving. He says, he says, would you be interested in the seats and the trunk lid and the hood and the console and the 4-speed for that car? I says, well, it depends on what you want for it. And he told me, I says, yeah. I says, I don't need the 4-speed. I got plenty of them, When I saw the console, I said, yeah, I'll take that console because the console it's plastic, but it's wrapped in vinyl.
Got it.
And Pontiac didn't start doing that until '68.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So I wouldn't, I'd have been, off the boat if I'd have left that console.
Of course. Yeah.
So I got all that stuff, and
so
I get it home, and I got it sitting in the driveway outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably been out there a week or so. And one Saturday morning, this guy, because this is similar, there's one on the right fender, but the left fender was gone.
Got it.
And I said, where in the world would I be able to get this thing reproduced?
So show him this emblem. So this emblem was on the passenger side fender, and that was the first.
There's still one like this on a passenger.
Yes, and that was the first indication that the car was something special, and it says Grand Marque 6. And at the time, did you know what Grand Marque 6 meant at the time?
Didn't have a clue.
Didn't have a clue.
All I knew is that it had a weird interior.
Got it. And
it was painted gold because you can see when you open the door jamb, you can see the gold versus the repaint color.
Mm-hmm. And so when did you realize that the car, obviously the interior was different. It had this Grand Marque emblem. When do you think you realized that the car was something really special? When did you find out what Grand Marque meant? Do you
Well, I
remember?
still don't know what the hell that means.
Oh, well, I guess as far as it signifies that it's a
66.
show car. It's a show car built for the new.
Right. It's, well, like I said, people at Pontiac said that car was supposed to be crushed because
Exactly.
it was a one-off. If they'd ever, they couldn't warranty any of the parts on it.
Exactly. So the driver's side fender was missing. So how did you find this other emblem?
So after I got the car, and I put the trunk lid back on it, because the guy was using a trunk lid and a hood in the wintertime for a sled pulling his kids around on it. That's why he's got all the scratches and stuff on it.
Wow.
Mostly on the passenger side.
Yeah.
You see some gouges. I hit some rocks or something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, this guy come by, and he says, "Hey," he says, "I'm looking for a hood. Do you want to sell a hood off that car?" I said, "Well, not really." He said, "Yeah." He says, "You got that down at Woodburn Brothers, didn't you?" I says, "Yeah, I did." He says, "Yeah." He says, "I got the left fender off of that."
Oh.
"You do?" I says, "It had an emblem on it." I says, "What'd you do with that?" "Oh, I took it off." I said, "Oh, man." "But I got it. It's on the top of my toolbox."
Wow.
I says, "Well, I'll trade you that emblem for a hood."
There you go.
He said,
Wow.
"Okay, I'll come back later." "No, you won't." I said, "Let me get my coat and my shoes on. We're going right now to your house."
Wow.
Threw the hood in the trunk, in the back of the truck.
Wow.
Went over to his house, got the emblem, and that's when I realized the headlight doors were painted.
Got it.
Because he'd taken the headlight doors off of it, and they were painted, and he took some stripper and stripped the paint off of them, because, you know, he's used to a regular goat where they're all chrome.
Mm-hmm.
And when he stripped the paint off, there wasn't any chrome under it.
Wow.
They had sandblasted or whatever, like you see in the picture,
Mm-hmm.
on the headlight doors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lesson learned there. And then, of course, who was it? You got the drag news. Did
Yeah.
you find that?
So yeah, at some point you realize that the car.
It's weird. It's still weird. Every time you find something else, it's weird again. You know?
So at one point you realize the car was on the cover of Superstock and Drag Illustrated.
Right. After Marvin Mineridge got me the magazine,
Yes.
or a copy of it,
So-
I have since found the magazine. I got the magazine.
So that cover, very famous cover, and do we know who that is behind the wheel? Is it Milt?
Milty.
Is it Milt Shornick?
Yeah.
So Milt Shornick was the driver for Royal Pontiac. He was also the head mechanic at Royal Pontiac, and he was kind of the head of the Royal Racing program. He was the wrench behind it all, and he also drove the cars for some of the road tests. So there it is on the cover, and we believe that this is the same car, and mainly because, you know, wood wheel, the painted headlight doors, the black convertible top. It's not a vinyl top, it's a convertible, which is really odd that they would use a convertible for performance testing.
And it's got Tempest grills in it.
Yes.
66 Tempest grills with 65 Grand Prix turn signals.
Exactly, because we're thinking the car is such an early production car.
They didn't have the grills yet.
Exactly. The grills were not ready yet. Exactly. So it's just sort of an interesting tidbit that the car made it on the cover. So we do have a couple photos of the car at the auto show that we found, and the car had appliance wire wheels and almost looks like gold line tires, maybe.
Well, you got a better eye than I do.
Something like that. Yeah, and here's the picture of it at the auto show. But we'll show a better one in the video. But
Yeah, get a close up.
exactly. So
You got a color one, don't you?
yeah. So as you went along, you eventually ordered a PHS for it.
Right,
And I think we found out there's multiple PHSs for the car.
right, but Pontiac Historical Society don't want to look into it.
Okay, well we'll figure that out. But yeah, there's a very early production car. It has a special paint code option on the trim tag.
Right, because the PHS code said it was built in October of 66.
65, right?
At 66.
Really?
Right, the last time we were making 67 by then.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So, but here it is on Drag News, March of 66. So if it was built in October, I ought to get on here in March.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the trim tag says that it was built in early 65 or in late 65, if I remember right. So some of the other things about the car, you know, the interior, it has like a shag carpeting. It has special inserts in the seats. It looks to me like the dash is painted body color.
Right. it
And
is.
the console's wrapped in vinyl, which is also,
Right.
I think, a
White
gold,
vinyl.
white vinyl on the console. It even the AC ductwork under the dash is painted body color.
Right.
Steering
It's
columns, body color, everything.
up on the roof there.
Yeah, and the car has a lot of options on the PHS. I think power everything, power seat, power windows,
Power seat, power windows,
Power antenna,
power antenna, power
gauge.
steering, power brake,
Exactly, it's got a lot of
tilt
options.
column,
Yes, a lot of options.
wood wheel.
So yeah, so the plan is we're going to drag this car out of here and
Bring it back to
bring
life.
it back to life. Yes, so that's the plan. So these are the marks from the trunk lid getting pulled around as a sled back in the 70s. They had no idea what they were doing, you know. But yeah, here's the original driver's seat sitting in the trunk. Check out the backing on here.
Yeah, that was probably
And
better shape than all of them.
And I think, didn't Buick have this trim?
Tornado.
Tornado. So this is off a Tornado. How cool is that? So GM had this trim on the shelf, but you can see that custom upholstery. You got the parchment vinyl. Check that out. And it's actually in relatively good shape. I mean, it's kind of amazing. It's like a bluish color. But the original trunk mat still in here. A lot of good little parts. Power antenna in the trunk. Oh, what the heck? Look at this. Look at this thing. Oh, wow. Some poor little kid lost his doll. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, original trunk spatter paint. Boy, this is full of mud here. Wow. This cord is a little wrinkled. That's okay.
You can see the punch throughs.
That's okay. But yeah, look at the sparkle in that paint. Look at that. Look at the metallic. Unbelievable. And you could see, here's your original trunk jack. The color's under there. So this was painted at the factory, that color. Okay, keep going. You're good? That's the door. Look at that sunset.
That's the prettiest that car's ever looked since I've seen it. I'm sure you saw it. I can't believe they sledded on that.
It's crazy.